TheoTRADE. This is Don Kaufman. It's August 22nd, 2025. It's Friday afternoon. The S&Ps ended the week higher. But I got to tell you, week over here, really, what are we? For the most part, we're massively unchanged. Look, yes, we did rally today. We rallied back. But tech still has some significant issues. I'm actually going to cover that and much more here, of course, on this TheoTRADE weekend update. Now, before you think I'm all bared up with no place to go, really, I'm not. I'm actually going to show you in the S&Ps we're above very, very critical level. I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. Let's start, well, with the obvious. What every financial media firm has been talking about for like weeks, okay? Jackson Hole. Ladies and gentlemen, Jerome Powell came out. He saw his shadow. He went double down dove. The marketplace exploded. This was a ridiculous trading session. It was ridiculous because what occurred with the Jackson Hole speech is they just dropped the entire speech, meaning that you didn't have to listen to the speech. The speech itself, okay, in text form, was just dropped to the financial media, which servers instantaneously read it, and it was over. it was over. There was no reason to listen to Jerome Powell. Oh, Jerome! So Jerome Powell comes out, and I call it going double down dove. What the hell does that mean? Double down dove basically means he's dovish, right? He's considering. He's considering cutting rates. Now, look, neither here nor there. There's still like a month before the next Fed meeting, okay? I'm not sold on the idea that they're actually going to cut rates, but they've definitely put it on the table. But it doesn't make a difference. Like, order flow is going to do what order flow is going to do. And order flow just exploded to the upside. And here we are. Yada, 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 64.84. Now, as I said, oh, Jerome, there's nothing else to say about Jackson Hole. There was nothing to read into in the speech, period. He just said, doors open. The pending what? Oh, more economic data? Absolutely. Anyway, you get some inflationary data that comes out, like later, into September, I should say, out here into the future, into September before the next meeting, and the chances of a rate cut could actually diminish. You guys have to realize the S&P's rallied today 100 handles, predicated on absolutely freaking nothing. Because in the end, it's a quarter basis point. I mean, yeah, even the 30-year did move, the 10-year moved. I got it. Like, some of those moved over there, but I have to tell you, I'm not impressed. I have to say, though, it felt like this entire move, okay, was kind of preordained, if you will. I'll start with that. So, okay, I'm done saying, oh, Jerome, although that one doesn't get old. All right. The next thing, I want to talk about some critical levels. So in the S&P futures, I've been using this 180-day 4-hour. And the reason I actually use this, and I'm kind of zoom you in over here, pretty much going to zoom you in, and I want to box out, okay, what I think are some critical areas. And I've been talking about these kind of incessantly. It's 6250 to 6450. Now, I like to use big round numbers because that's what a lot of servers, a lot of traders like to look at. We've been in this incredibly finite range of 200 points, not 250, like 200 points. And we've been in it since late June. I mean, you're almost at 2 full months in a 200-point range. We've all seen these kind of volatility channels where we're just kind of pinging back and forth. But holy crap, like a 200-point range for almost 2 months. Now, here's the critical spot. This is, again, kind of what we term a volatility box. And, we popped outside of that volatility box, albeit briefly, very, very recently, last week. We popped outside of it. And I'm going to say this because it's not what I would have expected. I would have expected if we're going to come out to the upside of this, it's just going to boom, it's going to rocket to the upside. That didn't occur. So here we are once again. We've popped our head outside, okay, of the vol box. Critical. The next session or two, okay, 64 It's just absolutely freaking critical. If you come under 64.50, and I am going to be incredibly specific, come under 64.50, chicken's done. We're going to trade right back to 62.50. And I've been talking about this crap for weeks. Okay. And you can see the second that we descended back into the volatility box, okay, this week, we started taking off to the downside, and then we got, oh, Jerome. Yeah, I had to get one more of those in there. Jerome actually popped us right back to the upside over there. So Punxsutawney Phil himself. In any regard, when you come in, on Monday, okay, like that's the level I'm going to be looking at, like the entire freaking trading session. Come in a little soft, come under 64.50, you're wide open. You're going to come right back down at 62.50. You're back inside of a volatility box. Seriously, okay, don't forget that crap, because that's going to be on the test. Yeah, there's a test. All right. So here's also something kind of interesting. So you have this rip and rally at the end of the week, and it's kind of a feel good rally. Okay, we rallied, but when you start looking at the SPX, and this is kind of where I started, you do realize that the week, okay, we hit the lower edge of the expected move, kind of skirted it on Wednesday, skirted it on Thursday, pop. So the S&Ps, they did finish the week higher, okay, but by how much? Like legit, like how much did the S&Ps finish the week higher? Well, the week started right here, and here is, okay, well, in the SPX, I should say, 64.50. Where did we end the week? 64, basically 66. Did we rally? No, not really. It's massively unchanged. I mean, like that to me that's not a rally. It's unchanged in the week. But here's actually the really interesting thing. I'm going to bring up the QQQ, because the QQQ, which has been like, this is where performance comes from, right? This is what drove the market. And just don't give me like, no, it's the financials. I realize the financials actually finished incredibly strong. Okay, I'm actually going to jump to it, right? Oh, but the financials are up 11%. Okay, thank you, Captain Obvious. The financials are up 11% year-to-date basis. Okay, the QQQ is up about 12%. But we all know it's the Qs that are carrying this entire marketplace on its back. It's the magnitude of the underlyings. So if you bring up auto expected moves, and I really want to zoom into this, you do realize the NASDAQ was getting hammered on Wednesday, was way out there. Thursday, it popped back up, but we're not even halfway home. So the NASDAQ actually finished the week not substantially lower, but lower. We definitely finished lower. And that's why I said, like, we rallied, but tech still has some issues. You want to see some issues? I'll give you some issues. Okay, let's go actually jump over to Meta. Okay, Meta could not even claw back to the lower edge of its expected move. Okay, that one's also on the test over there. The thing got pummeled. It absolutely got pummeled this week. And you went from like all-time high to like, holy crap, we're oversold. Like, how is that even possible? Like, literally, when you look at this, okay, it went to like, like all-time high, totally overbought. And I'm looking at a TheoTRADE RSI Laguerre polynomial, and it went to literal oversold territory and then popped back a little bit. But that's a pretty serious move. NVIDIA didn't nearly take the hit, but NVIDIA is still down pretty good. Tesla, okay? Tesla is still, I still love you, Tesla. Tesla's actually higher on the week over here. Taking a look at Apple. Apple skirting the lower edge of the expected move. Microsoft did not make it back to the edge of the expected move. And I know that people look around at the charts and so forth. I'm not pointing out anything you couldn't have actually figured out yourself, okay? But Meta got the living crap kicked out of it, and Microsoft is right behind it. And I'm going to tell you something. That's issues. It's issues because when I look at this, you're like, well, the buy the dip. It's an incredible opportunity. This is sell side activity, pop, maybe a little further, sell side activity. That's the way. This is what I look for, people. This is actually what I call a bounce and fade. Okay, so there is this huge fade. You bounce and we fade again and we bounce. That's how markets start when they're actually descending. Okay, so when I say that tech has some issues, all right, it's not even at a technical level. It's not at a technical level. The bottom line is this: what has led the charge in this marketplace unequivocally is tech. Okay, and it's not leading the charge. Right now, all of a sudden, you got what? You're like, I have financials. Financials actually broke their upper edge of the expected move. You have to realize all the financials in the world over there don't equal but 2 tech stocks. That's it. I mean, you could have JP Morgan, right? throw it in there a little like Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway is actually the primary constituent. You're like, that's not a financial. Berkshire Hathaway is actually the primary constituent in the XLF. Yeah, you knew that. Okay, but bottom line is there's still some issues inside of tech, and then everybody's like, but Intel, but nothing. Okay, they can buy all of Intel. It's still not necessarily going to help this marketplace when you have stocks that have like $4.4 trillion market caps. Now, let's actually cruise back to NVIDIA for just a second because the Nasdaq's lower in the week, and you have to recognize, okay, what do you got? You got earnings coming out next week. NVIDIA. Oh boy. Okay. So when I say tech has got some issues, so this one is a situation is coming to a head. Wow, the stars are kind of aligned over here because if can you imagine if NVIDIA missed or we started seeing sell side activity in tech, it's not going to make a difference. Okay, the big behemoth is actually going to have earnings, and things are going to get interesting out there for sure. By the way, there was absolutely just huge options volume inside of NVIDIA, and I thought it was interesting because the markets popped pretty good. NVIDIA though, it kind of lacked versus some of the other big tech stocks. It just did. Tesla ripped by 6%. By the way, this is one where you come up with a good reason, okay, that Tesla actually got pumped up by 6%. Oh, I know. It's because the $7,500 tax credit is actually going away. Is that a good thing? Probably not. So you're telling me that a quarter point rate cut is actually all that this thing needed to pop? And you're like, yes, absolutely. Look, I don't buy it, okay, and neither should you. Anyway, Tesla actually big move back to the upside over here. All right, so NASDAQ lower on the week. Now, here's another one that it actually has me a little bit perplexed. Okay, let's go over to VIX. So everybody's familiar. Okay, you know it, you love it. It's the VIX. Do you realize that the VIX? Okay, if I zoom in on it, it's pretty much the lowest point that it's been since into like last year. Okay, and again, I'm going to get eyes on it here. That's pretty much the lowest point that we've been in all of 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 14 handle of the VIX. And I'm going to tell you why I'm so bothered by this. Okay? Late August, the most volatile month on record historically is September. It's not October. October is when it actually held a lot of the crashes. Everybody always says that though. And that's okay. Like, oh, it's gotta be October because the crashes happened in October. That's true, but September historically from the volatility. And late August has also actually held a lot of volatility. This one's actually got me a little bit perplexed. I suggest, okay, that we all look at volatility and maybe buy a little bit of it this next week. It is what it is. Like, go out. Let's get crazy. Go out 25 days. Go out even 60 days, and maybe buy some volatility. I'm actually going to look at a couple of trades myself on that particular front. I'm already long a little bit of volatility. You're like, oh, but you're wrong. I'm long volatility, but this is just a magnificent volatility crush, taking us to unprecedented low levels of volatility. And here's the part that also is kind of weird. September volatility futures are at 17. October volatility futures are at 19. And you go all the way out to November and it's back to 20. So it's almost like, you're looking at VIX and it's at 14. But if you actually thought all the way out to like October, November, it's already pricing the VIX back down, back up to 20. So again, some very wild implications, really wild implications when it comes to volatility, right? So again, to kind of recap a little bit, S&Ps, they absolutely did pop to the upside. We're a hop, skip, and a jump off the all-time high, but tech didn't participate. And that doesn't mean that tech is not going to participate next week. I mean, you have the perfect catalyst, right? You have NVIDIA. But early on in the week, and again, to really kind of hammer this early on in the week, you got to hold this marketplace above the 64.50. If you lose 64.50, if we drop back just a little bit, and that's not a big move, but if you lose 64.50, you're in trouble immediately in the marketplace. Okay. Again, volatility collapsing though into late August. I find that quite staggering because no matter what people are going to say, what they're going to do, like, look, this is a quarter point cut. Get a hold of yourself. That doesn't mean crap. All right. All right. moving along over here. I traded a few things throughout the course of this week, and I actually traded a lot this week. In fact, in terms of the sheer number of trades that I've had this week, okay, if just go back, like for instance, 7 days, okay, that was the XHB trade, but okay, somewhere about 30 fills. That's just in this particular account, and it got again got a little bit crazy throughout the course of this week. But let's start with XHB. So XHB, this is an interesting trade. Early in the week, I faded it and made a very quick 30% in some pretty wicked sell side activity. We made 30% in out spread in 24 hours. Okay, over, done with, out. The other trades that came off profitable this week, okay, happened to be WeDay. So if I cruise over here to activity positions, cruise over to the account statement, let's actually type it in. Okay, WeDay, a little open and close over here. So I went out and actually bought butterflies for 77 cents and 70 cents respectively, closed them for almost $2. The other one I hit, that was a 157% gain. The other one I actually hit was Zoom. Zoom opened for 66 cents, closed for $1.73. Some huge, those are earnings-based butterflies, better known as flips. Okay, so some great earnings-based trades, XHB. And after that, I kind of positioned myself this week and said, I kind of sat back and let fly. I mean, this week, you knew that something was going to happen towards the end of the week. As I said, though, it kind of felt like, some of this rally was a little preordained to the upside. So it's a smash hit, and then literally nothing happened the remainder of the day. Again, I've seen some wild stuff, but this trading session, all you basically had to do, if you blinked, you basically missed it. But all you had to do was just be there, watch 1 minute. Okay, there was no reason to listen to Jerome Powell, and here we are, all the way back to 64.84 and change. All right, last but definitely not least, cruise over to the SPX, the mother of all products. So I'm a few hours after the cash close here, and as I said to you a moment ago, we're kind of massively unchanged in the week. Last week, I'll just round it. This was basically a $90 expected move. And we hit every ounce of it. Like literally, we came down just through it. And I have to say, Wednesday, that's some volatile crap on Wednesday. Not going to, diminish some of the volatility. So all of a sudden, you're ready to break to the downside, and all of a sudden, pop, and we're right back. But remember, we're basically even on the week. Where again, I'm a little surprised. This next week, kind of reaching out to next week, I mean, what are we looking at? The volatility came off, and we're only going to be looking at about an $81.30 expected move. So the entire week next week is looking for $81. You have to realize you moved almost $100 today, and all of next week they're only pricing at $81.30. Okay, here's another situation where I'm like, I will take the over. What I mean by that is, there's no if and or but about it. I mean, what's on the calendar? What's on the menu for next week? Okay, it's not even about like, oh no, the Chicago PMI. Oh no, there's this, there's GDP. Oh no, forget all that. How about there's NVIDIA? That's enough for me. Okay, NVIDIA can move this marketplace, and you imagine. Okay, can you just imagine if NVIDIA, anything big happens in here on the 27th, okay? So on the 27th, which is Wednesday, that's going to leave a whole lot of room for movement in the markets. Because if there's one catalyst, okay, that could actually rock them all, and I am talking about tech, there's one catalyst and one catalyst alone, it's NVIDIA. And when you start to look NVIDIA to next week, okay, that only has a $13 expected move. I'd actually look for that one to come up a little bit. Things, people, okay? We might be sitting right at all-time high, okay? We are pretty much at all-time highs. Things can get crazy in a hurry. Again, a couple things I'm going to be talking about this next week of trade. Obviously, I want to be long volatility right now, okay? I'm going to go out, I'm going to buy some volatility, especially here for the near term, just in the seasonality effect. The other thing, though, okay, the fact that volatility is this low, okay, with the biggest constituent of the S&P 500, NVIDIA, about to have earnings. So interesting brew that we're going to be facing into this next week. But overall, as I said to you, I started with this. We rallied. We rallied back to massively unchanged. But tech still has a lot of issues. Thanks everybody for joining us here at TheoTRADE. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.